Good morning, guys, and welcome to Unique Not Different with me, Shamla. And today I have a special guest. He's from New York. Um, he's from Brooklyn. He is the author of Bobby's new Bobby's. He's an author. He's a model. He is the founder of the Garrison's Red Project, and he is also a power lifter. And actually, before I start the interview, I want to say that I read that he is the first person in New York State to enter in that category in para powerlifting. So, good morning, Garrison. How are
Good,
you?
good morning, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate you having me on this network, and I'm looking forward to this wonderful interview we're about to get into.
Yes, I am super excited and thank you so much in advance for doing this. Let's get straight into it. The first question I want to ask is that I always ask my guests in terms of having paraplegic, they tend to get disabled during the course of their life due to some unforeseen circumstances. But what I want to ask is, in your case, I know you were shot when you were a teen, right?
Yep,
And that actually made you paralyzed.
yep,
And
that's correct.
so as a teen, somebody who is growing up and being at such a vulnerable age, self-esteem, building up your self-esteem, body image, etc. When you were shot and you realized, I cannot walk again, I have to do things different. What was that breaking point for you in terms of, you know what? I have to change my journey. I have to get strength and I have to continue because you went and you continue on to earn your bachelor's degree in finance. So
Yep.
what inspired you to move?
So, one of the things that I have to, attribute my success currently to is my foundation.
Mm.
So, at the point when I was shot, and when I was in the hospital, even before I went to rehab, when I was still in ICU, my mother pretty much told me, like, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. No one's going to have sympathy for you or empathy for you. And you have your whole life ahead of you. You're 17 years old. So at that point, I had to make that decision where I had to start to see the glass as half full instead of half empty. She didn't give me any time to really like get depressed or start feeling sorry for myself. So with that said, I just knew that I had to continue. So when I say continue, I knew that I had to get better. I had to go to rehab, and in rehab I had to become as independent as possible. So once I went to rehab, I realized that there was so many other children that was in my predicament or worse. Like there's kids out there that never had the chance to walk, never had the chance to run, never had the chance to play football because growing up, that's all I wanted to be was an American football player. And sometimes I believe everything in life happens for a reason. And sometimes you can't see the reason that it happened. But I knew that I had a strong mindset. And with the strong mindset, you pretty much could overcome anything. So with seeing other children that maybe had, stage 4 cancer and things of that nature and seeing them being happy, I had to look from my perspective as seeing the glasses half full automatically, like what I'm mad about, what I'm gonna be sad about when there's people out there that's going through worse situations than I'm going through. So my mother then also said, like, I'm gonna treat you like everyone else. Once you get out of rehab, once you graduate high school, you have 6 months to either go to college and find a job, just like anyone else would. The same things, the same expectations we had for you if you was walking, we're gonna have for you with your new ability. There's nothing that's gonna stop you. So with that said, I didn't have any time to be like, no, I don't want to do this. No, I can't do this. All I had time to do is figure out what I can do and be the best version of myself.
Right? And so you studied finance, you went, but during that time you were in therapy, of course, right? What stirred your passion to go into powerlifting sports in terms of, adaptive sports? Because you actually is an advocate for adaptive sport. So
Yeah,
what
you see,
inspired you
got the
on
muscles.
inspired you to go into adaptive sports and enter to represent your country in terms of the Olympic
All
stages?
right. So it was like a series of events that occurred. When I was working at, all right, so I went to school, got my degree. But when I was in school, I really gained my self confidence and self esteem in school because that was the first time I was going to college with my new ability. All up until then, I never really been in a school where I interacted with anybody that was in a wheelchair because I never was amongst individuals that was in a wheelchair or required the use of a wheelchair, I should say. So when I went to college, I probably was like one of the only people on campus that required a wheelchair to get around. So with that said, people gravitated towards me because of my personality, just because of how lively I am. I'm very energetic and I'm very sociable. So with that said, I started to meet friends like every day. And that's when I realized that it's not so bad. Like life isn't going to be so bad for me. And so I went through college. I got my degree. After getting my degree, I started working at the Internal Revenue Service for like 6 years. This is before I did powerlifting or anything. And while I was at the Internal Revenue Service, I had an epiphany one day, and I'm like, I'm way too cool for this job. I gotta leave. Yeah. So I wrote an email to my supervisor saying today's gonna be my last day. She's like, no, it's not. You got to do a 2-week notice. I'm like, you can't tell me when I'm gonna leave. If I want to leave, I leave. I'm not coming back. So I don't know what you're gonna do about that. But I left, but I didn't really have a concrete plan. But I knew I wanted to help people. That's all I knew I wanted to do.
Right.
And one of the first things that occurred was I ran into my godfather. I didn't see him in like 10 years. We ran into each other in the airport because I said I need to take a trip. So that way I could figure out what I want to do, clear my head, and just not be around people. Sometimes you just need that for yourself. So boom, I took the trip. But right before, I got on the plane and everything, he's like, yo, I'm starting a clothing line. I want you to model for it. So when I'm like model, I'm like, I never seen nobody, with a disability as a model at this time, especially not in mainstream. Because you got to remember, when I got injured, it was no social media. Social media wasn't what it is today.
Yeah, it was.
We had Twitter, we had MySpace, but it was no Instagram. Facebook wasn't as big as it is right now. Right. No YouTube, so it was no one I could connect with, really. So I started modeling. I meet up with some other dudes, and they had another clothing line, and they wanted to design this wheelchair for me and an outfit. So we did a photo shoot with this like special wheelchair that matched the outfit that they designed for me. And it like goes viral on Instagram. So then now people is reaching out to me from all walks of life. Like, how did you get the confidence to become a model? Like, can you work with us? Can you do some modeling for us? And things of that nature, just cool stuff. And I started going to the gym. I was like, you know what? I got free time on my hands. Let me go to the gym. Let me just become more active, because one of the things people don't realize is that with individuals have disabilities, we have an increased possibility of developing other illnesses because of our disability, because we're not as active as we should be. So other things can come on. So with that said, I'm like, I'll be all right. I know how to pretty much transform into anything. I'll figure it out. That's how I am. I'm a type of person that I just figure it out. Started going to the gym, and I meet a guy, and he's like, would you be interested in playing some wheelchair football? And I'm like, wheelchair football? That doesn't even make sense. Like, if I break something, how does that work? So he's like, nah, come out, meet with the guys. I came out, and I meet the president of the Wheelchair Sports Federation in New York, a gentleman by the name of John Hammer. He's like, one day I could see you as a Paralympic athlete. You're in great shape. So me, I'm like, you're crazy. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, no, for real. Like, we got to find a sport for you. So he connects me with this wheelchair sports team called the New Jersey Navigators. It's like one of the biggest wheelchair sports clubs in America. And I go to the first practice. It's in Bayonne, New Jersey. And They are like incredible athletes. It was wheelchair racing and field sports. So I started out wheelchair racing actually, and doing shot put, javelin, and discus.
Yeah.
Then it's one Memorial weekend, and I will never forget. My coach is like, "How much do you weigh?" And I'm like, "Coach, I go to the gym. I go to these clinics. There's no scale for me to like get on. There's no wheelchair accessible scale."
Yeah.
So he's like, "Don't worry about it. We're gonna get you weighed in, this, that, and the third." He gets me weighed in.
Yeah.
So I weigh like 120 pounds, and I'm able to. And then he puts me in a powerlifting meet, and I'm able to lift 250 pounds with no training.
Double your weight. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I lifted the 250 pounds, it got ranked. And then like the next day, I remember I get an email from Team USA, like you need to start vying for a spot on Team USA para powerlifting.
So I just want to mention quick
Yeah.
because we out of time, right? I know
Yeah.
you have a book. I know
Yeah.
you have a book. Everything just linked in your life, right? Can you
Yep.
just show us your book? It's Bobby Goes to New School.
Bobby's Adventure at a New School.
Right, right. You know,
On
it will
Amazon.
help persons of all walks of life in terms of inclusion, diversity, and compassion. I just want to put that out in terms of, you know, guys, I think it will be incredible, especially to be introduced in our country because we have a lot that we need to work on in terms of diversity, inclusion, and
Yes.
equity. Right?
And
So,
accessibility. Accessibility is very important as
exactly.
well.
Exactly. You know, so Garrison, and I want you to visit Garrison Red Instagram. I want
Yeah.
to he also has an Instagram for Garrison Red's project where
Yep.
he does magnificent job in terms of, you know, helping persons with disability and new disability who acquire the disability during the course of their life. Garrison, just quickly, a quick advice would you like to give persons? And I would love to do a part two with you in terms of the different things you do in life, going into deeper to help people in Trinidad and Tobago and
Yeah. And
yeah,
we're gonna build on that. So we're gonna get to Trinidad. We're gonna build on this and everything because it's very important for me for the world to be
yeah,
more inclusive and more accessible.
right,
And the reason I wrote the book Bobby's Adventure at a New School is
yeah,
because I felt that there was a need for accessibility in schools. Nobody ever thought about how a child that requires a wheelchair would be able to write on the board or fit under the desk. If you go to a lot of places, the bathrooms are inaccessible. So with that said, is like, how do you want how you want these individuals to feel comfortable if they can't even, have the opportunity
yeah.
to
So
be in a.
yeah. So I'm saying that we really have to go out. Can we do a part two? Carson,
Yeah, we could definitely do a part two in the
after
future.
come on, I would interact with you. And guys, thank you, Garrison.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this week's segment of Unique and Different. And thank you so much, everyone. We're going to do good and check this track.
Yeah.
Guys.
All right. Have a good one.